A wise man once said that it's not about how much you make, but it's how much you save. You can win the lottery one day, and a bad investment here, a wasteful spending there, and tomorrow, ya broke. So no matter where you're at in life, saving is key. Saving is winning. It's part of the wealth building process that we talk about in the channel. This is the Pinoy Bread Man, and I'll be sharing with you 12 tips to save money. Just a few things to mention before we start. It's important to have a budget just to sort out your expenses and to track where your money goes. Bigger expenses can obviously be easy to track. For example, your car. But it's all the little ones that often doesn't get accounted for that could add up. From food to phone subscriptions and everything in between. We'll cover different spending categories as we go along. Prepare a mindset of frugality and minimalism. There is no magic here. Basically, all 12 tips can be summarized into saying, spend less. We'll always be on the lookout for sales and discounts. I am aware that the value of a thing can be subjective. What's important for me might not be important to you, and vice versa. But the common objective is to not overspend. The only question to answer is it worth it? And with all that being said, revealing our first spending category, which is food and grocery. Tip number 1 is to choose generic over branded. There are items in the grocery where the brand doesn't really matter. All across the shelf, they're fairly similar products to each other. I would name coffee as an example because this is where I apply this tip in my life. So I like getting K-Pods, which I put in the Keurig. And whenever I get K-Pods, I just get the Great Value brand, the Walmart brand, because for me, coffee is coffee. It's all the same. I love coffee. I enjoy an occasional frap, but when it's something that you drink 4 times a day, you gotta find a way to start saving on it. Taking from the K-Pod example, tip number 2 is to look out for the price per unit. This could mean that maybe buying in bulk would cost less, especially if it's something that you know that you go through quick. Let's use the same example, which is my Great Value Dark Roast Coffee Keurig K-Cups, K-Pods. Let's say, for example, this is box A and we have an imaginary box B. Let's say, for example, box A would be $40 and box B is $35. It doesn't necessarily mean that box B is the way to go, even though 35 is cheaper than 40, because you'll also have to look at how many units you'll be getting from the purchase. So maybe we're getting 24 cups in our box B instead of our 48 in the box A. So obviously, the price per unit in the item would be cheaper in this one. Let's have another example. Shampoo. You know you're going to be taking a bath, you're going to take a shower. It's not like you're just suddenly going to stop taking care of yourself. You need these things. And so if you're actually getting each droplets from the shampoo cheaper by buying a bigger bottle, you might want to consider that. Tip number 3 is to eat healthy. Cut junk from the grocery list. Avoid aisle number 2 or wherever the soft drinks and the chips are, where one side it's Coke and Pepsi, the other side it's Frito-Lay or Takis. I'm not saying don't buy, but don't fill up your cart with these things. If you can cut it out completely from the list, then that's fine. But the fact of the matter is, it's not healthy. So it doesn't make sense to spend on something that's not good for you. Tip number 4 is eating out less. So we've talked about eating healthy, and obviously fast food isn't healthy unless it's fresh, never frozen beef from Wendy's. And with Wendy's, you get fresh produce. It's everything you need in one burger. The point is that these things are expensive and they're not good for you. But the tip doesn't just revolve around that. Using coffee again as example, if you buy it outside, it's gonna cost you a whole lot more than if you just make it yourself at home. Basically, all you're paying for is for somebody to make the coffee for you, put it in a cup. And, that's something that you can do yourself. By the way, if you want coffee, they also have that at Wendy's. So it's a one-stop shop. But I would say the most exciting example in this tip is drinks at a bar or in a club. So, for example, I was at a club one time when I was young, and I bought Red Bull for 500 pesos, and that's insane, man. Like, Red Bull is 50 pesos a can. So, and then just even the drinks. It was just the Red Bull for me because I don't drink. Next, we're gonna talk about another spending category, which is housing. So for tip number 5, we have house hacking or rent hacking. So it's basically having a portion of your property or a portion of your own space be rented out by others to help cover the cost of mortgage or rent. For tip number 6, we go to another spending category, which is health. And that's to just work out at home instead of subscribing for a gym membership. Working out is something that you can do for free, so consider not trying to spend on that. We go to another spending category, which is clothing for tip number 7, and that's going for quality over quantity. So this is where I would say a lot of the minimalism thing goes to work. So first off, you won't have to think that you're gonna need a lot of stuff, and so you won't have to spend for a lot of stuff. Before, when I liked wearing tight-fitted jeans, I would dream about having different colors of jeans that I could get: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, whatever. Imagine how much money I would need to spend just to get those colors. Now, all I bother wearing is black or whatever is being gifted to me. Doesn't mean you're not gonna have a sense of style or fashion, but weigh in more on the durability scale with what you can afford, because it's going to last you longer. With apparel, you could see how much it would cost for you to wear the item. Let's say, for example, you bought an expensive footwear that's worth $100 and you got to wear it twice in 1 year, so that means it's $50 every time you wear the shoes. So when you look at it that way, you get to ask, is it worth it? Tip number 8 is to buy used. So yes, we're still with clothing. Yes, you can get secondhand clothing and it's nice. From time to time, there could be gems and you're really going to save a lot. But with the same tip of buying used, we go to another spending category, which is car and transportation. So yeah, they could say that a way to save money is to not buy a car at all. But I love cars, and so if you're like me and you want to own a car, even though you can actually just walk to where you're going, then go for it, man. And we use tip number 8, which is to buy used, because this is where you save a lot. And when you choose to go down that road, tip number 9 is to learn to do things and consider doing things that you can do yourself. So we could learn to maintain our own car, like changing engine oil, basic stuff like checking fluid levels. So we've got a story here, and it's about my first car, and that was a 2007 Nissan Sentra, and it broke down in the middle of the road, and I was with my friend Brennan, shout out Brennan, and we called the mechanic to be on site to check up on the car, and he said that the problem is with the battery. So we had a new battery delivered to the site, and it turns out the battery is not the problem. I had a problem with my alternator. If I had just known how to check up on problems like that, I would not have spent on a battery that I didn't need. Another example I can give is when it comes to haircuts. So using tip number 9, you can just cut your own hair. For tip number 10, we go to another spending category, which is gadgets and electronics. And that's to think twice about getting the latest and the greatest. Do you really need the added feature that comes with an expensive phone? Maybe all you need is a basic phone and you're paying for a phone that's meant to be for a professional. That's not to say that you can't use an expensive phone or a phone meant for professionals, but do you actually really use it? And yeah, especially with phones, companies release new models almost every year, and sometimes the upgrades on those models isn't really substantial. And with gadgets and electronics, we can actually use tip number 8, which is buying used or getting a refurbished item from Amazon. Like my Beats pill right here, a refurbished item, and it works the same as if it's brand new. And I got it for like half the price. And this phone, which is what I'm using for this video, is a Samsung S8 Plus, and that's in 2021. The model came out in 2017, that's 4 years ago, and you don't even notice it's old. Tip number 11 is to review your subscriptions. Kind of the same in essence with our previous tip, which is to review and to recognize that the feature you're actually paying for is something that you get to maximize. Subscriptions such as Netflix and Spotify. I'm not saying cut these out from the budget, but look at how you're using the app and maybe you can go for a less expensive subscription plan. This tip would also go to car insurances, where the cost of a car insurance would get affected by how much kilometers and distance is covered by the insurance. Look at how much kilometers you're paying for and look at how much you're driving in a year. And the last but not the least, tip number 12 is to set goals. It will be very difficult to commit to the grind without a plan in mind. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't for plenty more content about winning in life like a champ. And I'll see you soon. Peace. Every day's a grind. Most people just prefer to take a day off. But others, like you and me, we don't stop.